They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo-Nazis. But look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it.
Sunny Hostin just had the emotional equivalent of a Wi-Fi signal in a cave. Completely lost after Charlie Kirk and Joe Rogan tag-teamed her ego into oblivion. Tears? Check. Confusion? Absolutely. A meltdown so over the top that even soap operas could have taken notes. But what exactly was said that turned Sunny into a puddle of regret on live TV? Get your popcorn ready, because this takedown was so brutal, even her teleprompter needed therapy. You won't believe how it all unfolded.
Her disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men, actually, voting more for him. And you have, and black men was not the story. We're not the story here, because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
Right. Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach.
Sunny Hostin was enjoying another week of televised self-congratulation until the universe slammed her with a cosmic 1-2 punch. On the political side came Charlie Kirk, the Gen Z firebrand in a suit fueled by graphs and enough caffeine to survive a college all-nighter. And on the cultural side, none other than Joe Rogan, the podcast titan, tearing apart her media credibility with ease, right in between casual chats about elk meat and UFOs.
The culture shift between right and left authoritarianism, and now people don't recognize that if you just stopped looking at it in terms of red and blue, look at the actions, whether it's war, suppression of free speech, pharmacological interventions that are mandatory, right, whatever it is, that used to all be associated with the authoritative right, the authoritarian right, and now those things are being embraced by the left. And I just think it's just an ideology thing, and I think we get confused and we think we're on the right side, we're on the right side. And if it's our side that's saying this, for sure that's the right thing to do. And no one's critically thinking about this.
Joe Rogan is the gateway drug for young men that thought they were Democrats to become MAGA. Joe Rogan is the bridge. And on that bridge, they'll see RFK. They'll see Elon Musk.
She never saw it coming, too busy monologuing to a studio audience that treats echo chambers like a public service. Then came the first strike, the Charlie Kirk data bomb. There's something almost poetic about watching a guy who usually debates 3 protesters and a dog with blue hair outside a campus suddenly vaporize someone's argument on national TV without even stepping foot in the studio.
The final point I'll say is this, is Sunny, you guys thought that abortion was going to be this like quasi-zealot religious issue. I'm pro-life. If people in the audience aren't, that's fine. What I'm saying though, what gives me promise, and I think we can all agree on this, is that there are other issues that should animate and drive our politics other than this very divisive one. And I was really encouraged by that, Megan. Very encouraged, because the media was forcing this as an up or down vote on a referendum on a highly complicated, very emotional, very personal issue. And it turned out the American people were like, yeah, actually, these other 6 things matter more.
Charlie Kirk, never the type to hold back when pointing out what anyone with an economics degree and a hint of pattern recognition can see. Unleashed a blueprint of elite media detachment with all the grace of a wrecking ball. And who better to stand as the shining symbol of that cathedral of cluelessness than Sunny Hostin herself, the self-anointed high priestess of progressive posturing.
Charlie Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept the View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here.
Well, it is the show that people love to hate.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
They get so much hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean, it is a rabies-infested henhouse.
Charlie didn't even have to mention her by name. He simply unpacked the overflowing suitcase of bad takes that always fly first class on The View. Talking points like voter suppression is everywhere, conservatives hate minorities, or the old favorite, Republicans are dragging America back to 1952. Then he did the unthinkable, something no studio audience ever dares to attempt. He ran the numbers, real ones, the kind of hard facts that bounce off Sunny's opinions like Nerf darts hitting a brick wall. Numbers showing minority voters shifting toward conservatism, because shockingly, they don't enjoy being lectured by millionaire hosts who couldn't tell you the price of a gallon of milk if their careers depended on it. And Charlie didn't stop there. He dug even deeper, exposing the absurdity of wealthy TV elites preaching about oppression from Manhattan balconies while sipping almond milk lattes. The only thing truly rigged was the show's applause sign. Then came the elitism nuke. Sunny herself, perched in the penthouse of media privilege, unintentionally became the poster child for pundits who confuse a producer whispering in their ear with genuine wisdom. Charlie shredded the illusion, showing how these figures mistake their tax brackets for moral authority. It's like taking life advice from someone who honestly believes Whole Foods is a bargain store.
And the nerve of this woman to whom the country has given so much to try to dump on people who didn't go to college. Look at you. Look at your achievements. How do you like the so-called uneducated now, Sunny?
Yeah, and again, by the way, rarely do you get the answer to a question in the question. And her whole question is exactly why there was a rebellion against them.
Yes.
Listen, just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. I always differentiate between knowledge and wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. I mean, it's or about North African lesbian poetry. Okay, that's fine, I guess.
And while Charlie Kirk's commentary was methodical, surgical, almost academic in its teardown, it landed exactly where it hurt the most. Credibility, not her character, not her wardrobe, not even her intellect, but the fragile illusion that Sunny's brand of politics has any real connection to the world outside her studio bubble. If this were a boxing match, the towel would have been tossed already. But that was only round one. Enter Joe Rogan, the intellectual barroom bouncer of America. Rogan didn't walk in with a suit or a stack of pie charts. No, he strolled into the cultural octagon, shirt optional, armed with the sacred tools of every man, clarity and casual annihilation. His weapon of choice? Common sense, a substance so toxic in the media elite circles Sunny drifts in, it might as well be a controlled narcotic. Rogan's takedown didn't require a dossier or dissertation. It arrived wrapped in laughter, laced with mockery, and impossible to ignore. While Charlie dissected ideology, Rogan went straight for the absurdity of the medium itself. He shredded the facade of talk shows masquerading as serious journalism when, in reality, they're nothing more than group therapy sessions for people allergic to self-reflection. Rogan exposed the hollowness of media virtue signaling with a punchline so sharp it echoed. It's like pointing out that the emperor not only has no clothes, but is also hosting a segment on the ethics of swimwear.
The episode of you when you're on The View, when you were running for president, you got introduced as our friend Donald Trump.
But does he really want to add President of the United States to his resume? A lot of people would like him to. Please let's find out, and please welcome my friend, Donald Trump.
That's right.
Whoopi Goldberg gives you a big hug and a kiss. Joy Behar gives you a big hug. Barbara Walters gives you a big hug. And then you actually started winning in the polls, and then the machine started working towards you.
That red hat that says "Make America Great Again." Might as well just put a sticker on the hat.
Rogan, with his trademark mix of gym locker room grit and podcast philosopher flair, asked the question no one on Sunny's set dares to touch. How did these media figures become cultural gatekeepers in the first place? While Sunny clutches her pearls over the latest trending hashtags, Rogan dismantled the very foundation of her brand. She's the kind of host who spins every issue back to herself while pretending she's speaking on behalf of everyone else. Then came the brutal contrast. Rogan pointed to his own conversations. People who've lived through crisis, made impossible decisions, and didn't need a publicist to hand them permission slips for opinions. On one side, you have media elites who talk about pain, poverty, and politics as if they're theme park attractions. On the other side, you have voices who actually lived it, dissected it, and, heaven forbid, laughed at the madness along the way. And here's the sting, Rogan never had to mention Sunny's name. That's the beauty of a roast so sharp, so on point, the target flinches even without being directly hit. He tore into talk shows turned echo chambers, places where reality is buried beneath manicured sound bites and self-congratulation. Where Kirk used cold analysis, Rogan unleashed ridicule. Where Charlie revealed the numbers, Joe revealed the absurdity. And the result, a host whose entire on-air persona depends on never being challenged suddenly looked like a badly written character in a satire about TV news.
Talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this, and as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it, but we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away with it. And the reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last weekend.
Yeah.
And here's where it turns almost poetic. Two men, so different in style, approach, and vibe, ended up syncing like a lunar eclipse of reckoning. Neither planned it, neither expected it, but together, they unraveled a narrative Sunny had spent years polishing, painting, and promoting. Charlie Kirk arrived with the PowerPoint. Joe Rogan arrived with the punchlines. And together, they didn't just challenge Sunny Hostin's credibility, they torched the set, flipped the couch, and walked away without even calling an Uber. Then came the internet. Oh, the glorious petty internet. When a TV host's worldview gets shredded from both an academic podium and a podcast microphone, the memes practically write themselves. Reaction videos spread faster than celebrity apologies. Twitter lit up with threads comparing Kirk's takedown to a PhD thesis and Rogan's to a savage roast session. TikTokers jumped in, acting out the demolition like Shakespeare in sweatpants. And Sunny, she stayed silent, because how do you respond when two men dismantle your entire persona without even mentioning your name? This wasn't a conversation. It wasn't even a debate. It was a cosmic audit, and the receipts were not in Sunny's favor. Her defenders couldn't spin it because the critiques weren't cheap shots. They weren't about her looks or her tone. They were about the core, about the emptiness behind a public persona propped up by network-funded righteousness.
I get it. I also hate Joy Behar. So I don't love you, but I also hate that squawking bird. So I hate the whole thing. And frankly, that show, you want to talk about a show that set women back, is The View. You want to talk about that show. If the CIA is engineering, Antifa and fucking the Capitol riot, some crazy misogynist engineered The View, because there's nothing worse than The View. In terms of, like, there are so many brilliant women out there. None of them are on The View. None of them have gone near the set of The View.
Meanwhile, Charlie's clip is now being used in high school.
Meanwhile, Charlie's clip is already making the rounds in high school debate clubs across the country, taught as the gold standard of how to dismantle someone without ever raising your voice. Joe's podcast moment, it's racking up replay numbers so high, even Spotify executives are breaking into spontaneous fist pumps. And Sunny, she's trending, but not the good kind of trending, more like the desperate please, someone change the subject before we end up with a sequel kind. It's a rare spectacle when political precision and cultural instinct align so perfectly to obliterate a single narrative. Rarer still when it happens without venom, without confrontation, and without even uttering a single name. Charlie Kirk and Joe Rogan didn't destroy Sunny Hostin by directly calling her out. They dismantled her by exposing the hollow world she represents. A world where talking points replace thinking and applause replaces reality. They stripped the illusion, showing it for what it truly is, a glitter-covered echo chamber drowning in its own delusions of grandeur. And in doing so, they didn't just tear down a TV persona, they revealed an entire class of pundits whose only qualification is being in the right studio, at the right moment, with the right moral panic queued up. Same target, different weapons. It was like dropping a drone strike and throwing a barroom punch at the same location, only to watch both level the entire building.
You get people thinking, like, if you could stop Hitler by any means necessary, wouldn't you stop Hitler? And so they equate Donald Trump with Hitler and go, here you go, this is our modern Hitler. Do you see what Whoopi Goldberg said?
What'd she say?
Whoopi Goldberg said that Biden could arrest all the Republicans and put them in jail. You just need to see how unhinged this kind of thinking is. Well, you know what Joe Biden could do? Joe Biden, you have to see it because it's so
on TV.
crazy.
She said it's
on television.
Charlie Kirk arrived in his trademark uniform, navy blazer, sharp haircut, and that slightly smug aura of a kid who's memorized every line of the Constitution. Footnotes included. His delivery was all precision, pure policy, and surgical control. No wild swings, no wasted words. Just a dismantling of the foundation Sunny Hostin has built her entire identity on. Manufactured outrage, elite detachment, and a TED Talk level overestimation of her own influence. He didn't even need to name her. That was the brilliance of it. Kirk's political sniper fire shredded her ideology like it was stitched together from recycled View scripts. Then, cue the smoke machine and swing open the cage. Here comes Joe Rogan. No script, no stats, just a podcast powerhouse radiating the energy of a high school gym teacher who moonlights as a conspiracy therapist. While Kirk manned the chalkboard with facts, Rogan kicked the door off its hinges with a beer in one hand and a sarcastic, "You believe this nonsense?" in the other. His weapon wasn't data, it was the ultimate vibe check. Rogan didn't show up to debate Sunny Hostin. He showed up to mock the absurdity of pretending she should still be taken seriously. Where Kirk brought charts and airtight arguments, Rogan brought the collective eye roll of middle America, and every Uber driver who's ever shouted at their radio while NPR droned in the background.
I mean, The View has to be, if you average out The View hosts, among the dumbest people on television. And so it's like they say the thing that people are thinking, but they say it very directly, so they expose whatever truth. But
I don't think some of them are dumb.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think Sunny Hostin.
You think it's deliberate?
I think she's ideologically driven, and they have blinders on for sure. I don't think Sunny's dumb, but Whoopi is certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out.
See, Rogan never needed Sunny's name either. He went after the culture she embodies, the plastic pundits who soak in self-importance, spit out prepackaged sound bites, and can't answer a real question without checking if their publicist approves. And that's where the gut punch landed. Not with malice, but with mockery. And that's always worse, because you can argue against data, but you can't argue against being laughed at. Here's the twist. These takedowns didn't overlap. They complemented each other, like a sharp left jab followed by an unexpected steel chair. Kirk's crowd, college conservatives, fed up independents, and that one uncle who quotes Milton Friedman for fun, watched their ideological rival collapse under pure logic. Meanwhile, Rogan's army, Spotify loyalists, comedians, MMA diehards, and exhausted millennials simply wondered why someone wearing that much makeup was still pretending to be oppressed on daytime TV. Two completely different audiences. One completely shared conclusion, and that's what made it devastating. This wasn't teamwork, it was a cosmic coincidence. A spontaneous combustion born when too much unreality slammed into too much honesty. No one expects a politician's chalkboard rant and a stoner's stand-up set to meet at the same truth, but they did, and Sunny Hostin was standing dead center when the impact hit. The media bubble she floated in didn't just pop, it imploded. She wasn't silenced, she wasn't canceled, she was exposed. And everyone watching saw the same thing once the glitter wore off. Nothing of substance underneath. Two men, one in a suit, the other in a hoodie, took different paths of reason and ridicule and accidentally landed on the same punchline. Sunny Hostin isn't just out of touch, she's practically in another time zone, so what happens next? Nothing. Sunny will keep pretending it didn't happen. The applause sign will keep flashing. The coffee will keep pouring. But something has shifted forever, because once you see through the act, you can't unsee it. And while Sunny may never admit the breakdown, the internet already has. The memes, the clips, the side-by-side edits, they're archived, saved, and waiting to be re-aired every time someone mutters, but she makes good points. She doesn't need to cry on air. The breakdown already happened. Quiet, invisible, total, delivered by two men who rarely agree on anything except apparently the comedic tragedy of Sunny Hostin's televised enlightenment tours. One day, she was the moral compass of daytime TV. The next, she was the punchline in a dual hemisphere demolition. No rebuttals, no replies, just the sound of ideology shattering beneath the weight of cold, hard data and relentless common sense. Now, if you'll excuse us, we'll be rewatching those clips for the 11th time, still laughing as if it's the first.